Assalamu alaikum. The Lahore Ahmadiyya community welcomes you to its Sunday morning English broadcast titled The Call of the Messiah. The Lahore Ahmadiyya community was created by Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad of Qadian. He taught us that the Holy Prophet Muhammad is the very last prophet. And after the Holy Prophet Muhammad, no prophet shall come, be it an old prophet or a new one. He said he claimed to be the Mujaddid, the reformer of the 14th century of Islamic Hijrah. But his distinction was that the Holy Prophet Muhammad had used the titles the Messiah and the Mahdi for him. And the fact that the whole of the community believed this is obvious from the fact that these words were put on his tombstone. These exact words were put on his tombstone. Some people object and ask, why did he name an organization after his name? Why was there a need to name the organization or have an organization? And he explained that the organization was named after the name Ahmad of the Holy Prophet Muhammad and not his name. And even when the organization wasn't named, people started giving it their own names. And when you set out to achieve an objective and you have an organization, you need an organization. The Holy Prophet said, if two of you set out on a journey, organize yourselves so that one is the leader, one is the Imam, and the other one obeys what the Imam says. And that was why the organization was created. Of course, there are differences of interpretation on many things with our brothers who are not members of this community. Our brothers say that the Holy Prophet Jesus will descend from heavens one day and guide Muslims to the right path. We say that the Holy Prophet Muhammad was Khatmun Nabiyyin, which he defined as La Nabi Abadi. So no prophet can come, be old or new, after the Holy Prophet Muhammad. That is the end of prophet. Those who are not members of this community believe that some verses have been left out of the Holy Quran. Ayah Rajam has been left out of the Holy Quran. Surah Walayat has been left out of the Holy Quran. We reject all of this. We reject it. We believe that the Holy Quran is complete and it's perfect, not a jot, not a dot that was revealed to the Holy Prophet Muhammad is missing from it. Some people say some verses of the Holy Quran have been abrogated. Again, we reject this. The Holy Quran is complete and it's perfect. None of its verses are abrogated. Even Hazrat Shah Waliullah, He writes that people say that 512 verses of the Holy Quran are abrogated. And I have investigated all of them. And I find that only 7 verses are abrogated. But Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad taught us that no verse of the Holy Quran is abrogated. The Holy Quran is perfect. And about jihad, we believe jihad is incumbent upon every single Muslim. But jihad includes a struggle to subdue your own evil desires, greed, taking advantage of others, not doing your duty. Jihad means setting up yourself as an example for others of as perfect a Muslim as you can be. Jihad means to defend Islam against attacks. If those attacks are with the sword, then you defend Islam with the sword. If those attacks are with the pen, then you defend Islam with the pen. Whatever means that you are attacked by or with, that is what you use to defend Islam. If you're attacked with the pen, you don't defend with the sword. Again, our brothers believe that when the Holy Prophet Muhammad married Hazrat Aisha, he was somewhere between 6 to 9 years old. We reject this. We say that she was certainly 18, probably 21 or 22 years of age when the Holy Prophet entered into a marriage with her. Some people also say that they were wives of the Holy Prophet Muhammad with whom he did not enter into a marriage formally. We reject this. And to explain all of this, missionaries are needed. Explain it to Muslims, explain it to non-Muslims. And there are some people who say, well, there is no need for missionaries. Hazrat Sahib has written, instead of missionaries, you should send books which people can read and then form their opinion about Islam. But then if you send a book and someone has a question to ask, what does he do? Who does he ask? Does he have to find out the author's name and address and write to him? Or what does he do? If you're sitting face to face with someone, you can ask them, oh, yeah, that's fine. But what about? And get a reply immediately. But a book can't do that. What happened was that Hazrat Sahib was keen to defend Islam and make his call known to all corners of the world. And that work was being delayed. Why? Because there weren't enough people available, particularly those who spoke English. So someone put forward a proposal that a new Muslim university has been set up, and the graduates of that university, they speak very good English and so on. So why don't we take some of those and teach them a little bit about Islam and send them out? And the Prophet Messiah, in reply to that suggestion, said, instead of such people, it is better to send books. He didn't say don't send out missionaries. He didn't say don't create missionaries. He said instead of such people, send out books. I want to share with you something else that he said. Hazrat Saab's writings and other things can be divided into three. There are his books, of course, and then there are the posters and advertisements, and then there are letters. But also, when he would sit with people and answer questions, these were noted by people and then published in a newspaper the following day or a few days later. But of course, Hazrat Saab didn't check these to see whether this was correct or not. So these are called Malfuzat, and this is volume 10. And you might be, if you can read Urdu, you can see this is 23rd of May 1908 at Lahore and before Zohar prayers. This is what he said. We need such people who don't just do it with the tongue, but do something practical. Just claim to be a scholar does not help. They should be free of all arrogance and haughtiness. They should have stayed in my company, or at least read my books in detail, so that their scholarship is perfected. Sheikh Ghulam Ahmad, he seems to be a good person for this task. He is eloquent, and through his sincerity and love for the community, in this tormenting heat, he has taken upon himself the burden of undertaking such a vast tour. And God has also bestowed upon him the ability that when he speaks, people gather to listen to him. In one place, he was stoned, but through God's intervention, those stones hit someone else, and that other person was injured. For propagation, Tabligh Silsila, for propagation of this community and its ideas, we need people to go on missionary tours. But they need to be men of ability who sacrifice their lives in this path. The Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, his companions, Raziullah Ta'ala, they also used to go to faraway countries for the propagation of Islam. In the country called China, there are many millions of Muslims. This shows that someone from among the companions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad must have gone there. In the same way, if 20 or 30 people go to different places, then the work of propagation can be speeded up. But until and unless some people are the kind that we want and they are economic and prepared to make do, then we cannot give them complete authority. The companions of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam was so content and so hardy that sometimes they would just live by eating leaves of a tree. The whole of India is unaware of our claims, as if no one has heard anything. As far as I'm concerned, building schools and colleges, etc., it depends on making this community strong. First, there should be people who support financially this community. We have a free kitchen. When we cannot finance that, then to turn our attention to other tasks is useless. Some people who are able and who want to serve the community, they should set out to take its news to other people. Even if they just tell them about the community, this is of great benefit. Great benefit can be expected from this. For the time being, maybe long journeys are not required. That we go to such countries as Europe and America, etc. At this time, just India itself needs this. To go to those countries will be the task of those people who know the language of that country, who know the mode of expression and the ideas of those countries, who can bear the difficulties of the journeys, and they should have very good health. This task is heavy as well, that there should be a few people who go around this country from village to village and inform people of our advent. Now, I want to stress here a number of things, and these are very important. That the missionaries who go somewhere should know the language of that country. Otherwise, how will they communicate? And the mode of expression and the ideas. And these things include the history and the culture of that place. To give you an example, which is not religious, but it makes the point. I live in England and I was talking to someone, and that person, an English person, and he said, "Isn't it a shame that Muslims insisted on dividing India into India and Pakistan? Would have been much better if India could have remained one and communities could have learned to get on with each other." I said to him, these are wonderful ideas, but isn't it best that you apply these to yourself first? So he said, what do you mean, apply these to myself first? I said, not you personally, but the British who lament creation of Pakistan. I said, Ireland was one country. In the south, you had Roman Catholics in a majority. In the north, you had people who followed the Church of England in a majority. And people of Britain generally follow Church of England. And they're not Catholics for historical reasons. And when the Irish wanted independence, you divided Ireland into two: south for the Catholics and north for those who follow the same religion as you. Why wasn't the Irish unity important? And I said, then you did another thing. You took Palestine and you took Jews to live there who hadn't set foot in that land for 5,000 years, and you divided up Palestine and created Israel. Why wasn't the unity of Palestine important? Why did you, all the Arab countries, why did you divide them up into Iraq and Syria and Lebanon and Palestine and Saudi Arabia and so on? It all used to be one country. But you can't answer objections in this way unless you know the language and history and culture of a country. But the important thing that I want to point to also is the last sentence, that these missionaries, they travel from village to village and inform people that the Messiah has come. There are a lot of people who say, well, why do you insist on this? Propagation of Islam is good work. You should just do that and leave it at that. And this should be your main objective, etc., etc. Why do you want to bring in Mirza Ghulam Ahmad? But the point is that our instructions come, number one, from the Holy Quran. Number two, from the Sunnah of the Holy Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Number three, from Hadith that is not contradictory to the Sunnah or the Quran. And number four, from Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad. This is the sequence. Now, there is another point to remember. If you're not going to say that the Holy Prophet Jesus has died, or if we say the Holy Prophet Jesus has died, who told us this? The whole of the Muslim world, the whole of the Muslim world outside the Lahore Ahmadiyya community believes that Jesus is sitting up in heavens and will return one day to show us the right path. If someone does you a favor and gives you a weapon to defend yourself, is it right that you practically reject that person by not mentioning him? If you don't mention Hazrat, this is basically what you are doing. You are rejecting him. So what will we say about the completion of the Holy Quran. What would we say about the theory of abrogation? What will we say about jihad? It is important to say that this man came and he brought these reforms. And this is why he is the promised Messiah. That is very important. Ungratefulness is a sin. To hide the advent of the promised Messiah and just say, we are preaching Islam. Which Islam? Which Islam? What will you say about death of Jesus, about advent of Jesus, about jihad, about punishment of apostasy, about the rights of women, and 1,000 other things? And when you say what you believe, when we say what we believe, what should we say who taught us these things? Should we be hypocritical and hide that it was Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad who taught these things? We can see with our own eyes in the West, those Muslims who are not members of our community are now saying the things that Hazrat Mirza Ghulam Ahmad taught. What are they saying about jihad? What are they saying about rights of women in Europe and America and Canada and Australia and so on? Is the teaching the same? In Saudi Arabia, women are not allowed to drive. Do they say the same thing in England? A Saudi girl comes to England and she's not allowed to drive because this is what the law is back in her country? No. It is important to mention the coming of the Messiah. It is important to mention the coming of the Messiah. Why? Because resurgence of Islam depends on the coming of the Messiah. So let us remember this. Each one of us needs to be a missionary. Hazrat Saab has asked us all to go door to door to announce his advent. But together with that, we should also have full-time missionaries as well who go from door to door and do exactly the same thing. With that, I take my leave of you. Our next English broadcast is Reflections on the Holy Quran, which is tomorrow at 7:30 p.m. UK time. I hope we'll see you then. Until then, I pray that whoever you are and wherever you are, whatever your creed, color, nationality, language, religion, sect, may Allah keep the whole of humanity under His protection and free from harm. Assalamu alaikum. Khuda Hafiz. Goodbye.